Good evening. Good evening. All right, thank you. Welcome. Happy New Year to everyone. It's the first time we've been able to meet for the new year. Good evening. Now I will call the January 2026 member of the meeting of the LaBenne Pines Board of Directors to order. I would like to introduce our participants this evening. To my immediate left, Vice Chair Amy Tatum, Directors Cameron Fisher, Keena Chadwick, Jen Lynch, Shirley Olson, and Director Ross Tomlin is joining us virtually. Hi, Ross. To my immediate right, Superintendent Dr. Stephen Cook, Deputy Superintendent Dr. Lisa Burke, and Board Clerk Janet Bojanowski, and I am Marcus LeGrand, Chair of the Board. We also have our student representatives joining us this evening, and if I mess it up, I'm gonna make sure I say it correct. Is it Sameli Alatebi? How close was I?
Shamail Alotabi.
Okay, Shamel Alatebi, because she did a great job. Thank you. She knows her name. And Paige Hall, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it. And both from Mountain View High School. And we include the student to attend as well. Would please stand now, remove your hats, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. So directors, you ready? I see Director Olson's getting accommodated over here. Thank you. All right, we'll now move to agenda item number 3, review of the agenda. Dr. Cook, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
Fellow board members, are there any changes to the agenda? All right, hearing no request for any changes, we'll proceed with the agendas as noticed. And now I'll pass it over to Dr. Cook for district recognitions. What's wrong with my?
All right, thank you, Chair LeGrand. At this point, could I please be joined by Jamie Kinsella? Clap now. I am so honored to present this month's Champion for Students Award to a dedicated member of the Three Rivers K-8 Community School, 5th grade teacher Jamie Kinsella. She's taught at Three Rivers since 2012 and was nominated by her fellow teacher, Ross White. Here's a bit of what he shared. Mrs. Kinsella goes above and beyond for our school, for our community, and students every single day. Whether she is volunteering to direct a video for our Veterans Assembly or managing our student council during her lunch break, Mrs. Kinsella always brings focus, kindness, and an artistic eye to her work. Principal Tim Broadbent shared also, Jamie is a caring teacher who works diligently to build relationships with all of her students and her families. She makes an impact that reaches beyond her classroom by leading our elementary student council, empowering students to serve others. Under her guidance, students organize school-wide events such as food and blanket drives and Spirit Week, fostering empathy, leadership, and school spirit. She is the kind of teacher students long remember. My own daughter had Jamie 10 years ago and still asks about her every time she comes home from college, a testament to the lasting impact that Mrs. Kinsella has on the lives of her students. So, Mrs. Kinsella, in recognition of your outstanding service as 5th grade teacher to the Three Rivers K-8 community, you lead your classroom with dedication, openness, and a genuine commitment to student success, all while directing and contributing to meaningful events and programs, including the annual Veterans Day Assembly, Student Council, and the Social Committee. You bring focus, kindness, and creativity to everything you do. Highly organized and always prepared, you build strong, lasting connections with students and families. Your dedication, creativity, enrich the learning environments for students, staff, and the entire community. Ben Lapine Schools is very proud to honor you as a true champion for students. Can you say something?
Thank you.
All right, hold on. Come here. No, you don't have to talk. I won't make you talk. But we do need a photo. So if we could get, I see James. Come on up, James. And if we could get Tim, I'm going to ask Tim to take that sweatshirt off. That's, I don't know. Can we have that in a photo? Is that okay? Okay, come on. Let's go. I'll go over here. You go on that side, and let's put these two in the center. So, quick photo. Thank you. All right, thank you so much. One more round of applause for Jamie.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. And we'll now hear from Michelle Oakes, Mentor Program Coordinator for our National Board Certification Teachers Recognition.
There it is. Thank you, Chair LeGrand, Vice Chair Tatum, and the school board directors for inviting us here tonight. We are excited to celebrate the achievement of these amazing teachers as they have become nationally board certified. This honor reflects their dedication to their students, commitment to continuous growth, and the high standards that they bring to their practice every day. National board certification is a significant professional accomplishment, and this recognition is well-deserved. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Michelle Oakes. I am the Mentor Program Coordinator. I am also a National Board Certified teacher. See, okay, reading glasses, I couldn't see you before. I am a National Board Certified teacher. I am an early childhood generalist, ages 3 through 8. I first certified in 2000, don't do the math, in San Diego, and I have maintained twice. I have a master's in curriculum instruction. I have an administrator's license, but it's National Board that changed my practice. You hold your practice against national board standards, and you define areas of growth and areas in which your practice aligns. It brought intentionality to my teaching, to my coaching and mentoring, and also to my leadership work.
Hi, I'm Heather Anderson. I'm the reading and math intervention teacher at Juniper Elementary School, and I've been supporting national board candidates with Michelle in Ben Lapine since 2010 probably. And my story begins right here. I went to kindergarten in this very building, and I'm a product of Ben Lapine schools. After college, I moved to Washington, D.C. With my husband, and I was given the opportunity to work at a school that was the first school to be taken over by the state of Maryland during No Child Left Behind. So that'll give you the year. My school decided to empower teachers rather than be punitive with things that were happening at the time. So I was part of 21 teachers in our school that in our 4th year, we became board certified to change the entire culture of the school, and it worked. I was in a school when I first arrived, it had 8% achievement rates in math and 10 in reading. And we slowly grew and grew to 25 to 30 to 50 to 80 to 90 to one of the top schools in Maryland within a 5-year time period. So I became really impacted by the benefit of National Board through what we were able to do for as a teacher and for our students. I've since worked in 2 schools in Ben Lapine since 2007, and I've been able to see that success happen in our schools here as well. From there, I've gone on to win lots of different awards. I was the 2016 Oregon Teacher of the Year, 2017 NEA, and lots of things like that. But my success comes from National Board. I'm in my 6th year serving on the board of directors for National Board out of Arlington, Virginia, and so I'm just passionate about improving our district by certifying more teachers. Now I get to tell you some background about National Board. Just as students have academic standards, teachers have national standards. The National Board for Professional Teaching Standards was created in 1985. It is independent, it's nonprofit, it's nonpartisan, non-governmental, and the majority of our board members are teachers. The mission of National Board is to advance student learning and achievement by establishing definitive standards and systems and certifying accomplished educators, providing programs and advocating policies that support teaching and excellence. National Board has advanced the teaching profession by establishing and maintaining the definitive standards and certifying more than 141,000 educators across the country. In Bend Lapine, we have 47 MBCTs, which is the most in the state of Oregon. Many MBCTs take on leadership roles. They serve on curriculum adoptions, instructional coaches, literacy leads, presenting at state and national conferences. National Board has direct impact on students. There's a decade of research that supports the impact on board-certified teachers have on students. Board-certified teachers produce gains of up to 1.5 months of additional learning. Studies have also found that a positive impact the board-certified teachers have is even greater for BIPOC and low-income students. National Board is created by teachers for teachers. The National Board standards and the 5 core propositions were created by committees of educators who are accomplished in the field. They're reviewed every 5 to 7 years and modified to align with current research. 91% of teachers that engage with National Board standards report that it has a direct impact on their instructional practices. These shifts include adjusting lesson plans to meet the needs of individual students, using data in new ways to assess student progress, and deepening their content knowledge. What National Board Certified teachers do for us, for our students, they foster a deeper understanding of content. They have measurable improvements in student learning and achievement, provide equitable instruction based on students' needs, strengths, and diverse backgrounds. They help students demonstrate knowledge through a variety of methods. And for our schools, they build learning communities, support other teachers, create closer ties with school students and families and communities, and provide public distinction for our school and district. Bend Lapine was named National Board Distinguished District, and we are also the only one in Oregon. That last one. Finally, National Board is based on the 5 core propositions, and these 5 core propositions describe what highly accomplished teachers should be able to do. These are based in all certificate areas. They are that we, as National Board Certified teachers, are committed to students and their learning. We know our subjects that we teach and how to teach them to students. We're responsible for managing and monitoring that student learning. We think systematically, and we're willing to learn from our experiences, and we're members of a learning community.
National Board Certification, we actually have 25 certificates that cover 16 content areas and 7 developmental levels. More than 95% of teachers can fit into one of those areas. We've only found a few in Bend Lapine that haven't, and that's our Japanese teachers who have been interested. But we keep talking to the National Board board members and trying to work to see how we can get that added soon. And as Heather said, they're based on the 5 core propositions. This is what our National Board Certified teachers, this is what the portfolio that they submit in order to certify. So they have 4 components. They have a content knowledge, which is called C1, and it's the assessment center. It is based on, they have 3 essays that they have to do and 45 selected responses in a 3-hour exam. They have a component 2, which is differentiation instruction, and the evidence is through student work. In this, they showcase, they set goals for their students, they collect data on their students, and they show how they're differentiating in their classroom. Component 3 is teaching practice and learning environment. That is evidenced by 2 videos and 2 written commentaries or essays in which educators are reflecting on their practice. Component 4 is called effective and reflective practitioner, in which our MBCTs had to provide evidence on student self-assessment, formative assessment, summative assessment, and collaboration. Collaboration with other colleagues, collaboration with families, with other resources, in order to know more about their students to help them refine their instruction. Cost and time. A National Board Certified teacher can finish in 1 year or up to 3 years, depending on how they decide to do those components I just discussed. Just as a side note, both of our initial candidates that we will be celebrating here in a second did it in 1 year. The cost is $475 per component, which is $1,900. Statewide, how this ties to the state. One way for a teacher to move from a TSPC preliminary license to a professional license is by becoming National Board Certified. Also, if a teacher would like to pursue a teacher leader license with TSPC, one of the ways that they can do that is by becoming National Board Certified. Bend the Pines Schools offers amazing support for our National Board candidates. We have cohort support for our national candidates in which they voluntarily meet once a month from 4:30 to 8 o'clock at night, either in person or via Zoom. We also offer support of maintenance of certification for our teachers who are maintaining every 5 years. And that, once again, voluntary 5 sessions during the year. In addition, Bend the Pines Schools offer supports with a $2,500 a year stipend, a sub-day to go and take the Component 1 exam, which is great. Right now, I have an art teacher who is in our cohort who has to go to Eugene because that's the only place the exam is offered. And lastly, which was just added into the contract, our last bargaining contract, tuition reimbursement at 75%. So Bend the Pine also gives some of the best support for our candidates. So thank you. And so that was a little bit, of our the history. Gosh, of our history and the foundation around National Board. I talk with my hands. And so with that, we would like to go on to celebrate our newly National Board Certified teachers. First up, we have Jackson Blackburn from Pilot Butte, and we have Ryan McLaughlin from Pacific Crest. Yep, go. Jackson Blackburn from Pilot Butte Middle School. Yep, go on. The National Board process added to my strengths and further developed areas in my practice that needed work, not just in teaching, but in other areas of my life. Mostly the certification process has motivated me, given me my role as an educator more purpose, and perhaps added years to my teaching career.
Ryan McLaughlin, Pacific Crest Middle School. Working towards my National Board certification allowed me to reflect on my teaching practice and move it to another level. My teaching peers were important supports along the way, and our conversations about national boards led to them to grow as educators too.
And next are 3 maintaining National Board Certified teachers, Marcy Adams, Alyssa Kornbrath, and Jenny Brown. Marcy Adams, elementary instructional coach. Earning National Board certification was a humbling experience, but also an opportunity to focus on intentional teaching. The process pushed me to reflect and honestly evaluate whether my instructional practices and decisions were having an impact on students' learning, and invited me to set a laser focus on what instructional moves resulted in learning. The process also helped me to identify where I wanted to grow as a teacher. Completing my maintenance of certification this year provided me an opportunity to reflect on my professional growth in the last 5 years since my initial certification, and helped me to set new goals for my future learning.
Alyssa Cornbrath, Pine Ridge Elementary. The national board process has given me the opportunity to grow and learn as an educator while taking on new leadership roles. It has helped me continually reflect on and improve my practice to better serve my students.
And lastly, Jenny Brown at Caldera High School. Jenny's not able to be with us tonight, but she states maintaining my national board certification pushes me to reflect on my practice. It encourages me to both push myself to keep learning and to share what I've learned with others. Please give a warm round of applause for our new and maintaining national board certified teachers.
I want to thank you, Michelle, and I want to thank the recipients of receiving their national certification as maintaining. Congratulations. Thank you for all the great work that you do for us. And now I'll be turning it over back to Dr. Cook.
Thank you, Chair LeGrand. As some of you may know, January is School Board Recognition Month. We'd like to take this time and this opportunity to thank our volunteer board members for their service and commitment to the Ben Lapine Schools community. And if I may, I'd like to read the proclamation from the governor's office regarding that volunteer work you all are so engaged in. Whereas Oregonians rely on public education to ensure a prosperous quality of life and strong economic health for Oregon, and whereas locally elected boards fulfill the leadership roles and serve as the conduit through which teachers, parents, businesses, and communities demonstrate the care, creativity, and support that leads student achievement, and whereas public school nurtures and trains diverse student populations with varying resources to give students the knowledge, skills, and opportunities they need to succeed. And whereas board members build the framework that make it possible for educational organizations to educate Oregon's children. And whereas we thank the committed community members who serve on the board of Oregon's 197 school districts, 19 educational service districts, and 17 community colleges for their dedication to the education needs of Oregonians. Now, therefore, I, Tina Kotek, Governor of the State of Oregon, hereby proclaim January 2026 to be School Board Recognition Month in Oregon and encourage all Oregonians to join in this observance. And I just wanted to remind you that there was a bag of goodies on your chair, thanking you for your volunteer service. I promise you they're not worth more than $50 so that you can keep them and you do not have to report those on taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. Appreciate it. And thank you to all the board members, to all the hard work that you do. And we know sometimes it's a thankless job, but I think we understand the commitment that we've actually given to this community. So thank you for all your hard work. Thank you so much. And now we're turning it over to our student representatives to be able to give the report, and welcome again.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Paige Hall. I attend Mountain View as a sophomore.
My name is Shamail, and I am also a sophomore at Mountain View. We are both in the same boat, as it is our first time presenting at a board meeting, but we are grateful for the opportunity to be here.
To keep you all updated on what we have been working in Student Voice Council, we will give a quick summary of what was covered in our last meeting. We began with a presentation from Sean Reinhardt and Amy Snyder about our school district's substance abuse prevention plan. Leaders from Student Services heard our individual inputs on how to improve the policy, and we appreciated their interest on hearing our student perspectives.
At this meeting, student board members also discussed feelings about the new cell phone policy. Overall, we felt the ban has been implemented smoothly, although due to the recent phone line outage, there were minor concerns about student-parent communication during the time before Parent Square is implemented.
We have also created a new one-pager template to help share student feelings and perspectives with you. Student Council also visited the idea of focus groups, allowing the council to break into smaller groups to more effectively tackle issues within the school system and be more productive.
Each focus group has a specific goal or topic to allow more detailed and specific steps forward to be taken. Some of these groups are school climate and belonging, cell phone policy feedback, school to career readiness, mental health, and sustainability.
In order to make our students' voices outside of Student Voice Council more clearly heard, professional photos are going to be taken for use on posters. These posters will include Student Voice Council emails and a QR code, making it more accessible for all students to share their thoughts with us, allowing us to be better representatives.
To foster a stronger sense of community and better represent all student voices in the district, the possibility of visiting feeder schools was discussed. If this were to be enacted, Student Voice Council members would visit a local elementary and middle schools, listening to what they have to say to ensure all students have the opportunity to be heard and make connections with our community and possible future SVC members.
The next steps Student Voice Council will be taking in order to move forward will include continuing to meet with our school administrators to share updates about what is happening within Student Voice Council. We will make sure to keep engaging with school clubs and groups, making it known that we are here for the students. Also, we will begin the process of creating focus groups, reaching out to feeder schools, and identifying interest in Student Voice Council leadership positions.
We appreciate your support of Student Voice Council, and we are grateful for your advocacy of student perspectives. If there are any questions, we would love to answer them to the best of our abilities on the behalf of SVC. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the information. Directors, do you have any questions for our student representatives today?
Just a simple question when you talk about focus groups. So are you saying that like the SVC, like there's like 3 members working on one topic and then you're gonna work and gather information hopefully from, got it, thank you.
Thank you, Paige and Shmuel. I'm curious where y'all are thinking of hanging those QR codes. Are they going to be in like all the schools, or what does that look like?
Yes, so the main area we were thinking of putting them was in the principal's office because we recognize that students, when they have questions, will most likely come to the principal's. So he can, or they can reach out to us if they have any questions that we can answer, so yes. And in hallways, too.
Thank you.
Quick question. Thank you for your presentation. Do you have a sense of the number of SVC students you have at this point, total, give or take?
22.
22?
Yes.
Okay, and I think last time we confirmed that every high school is represented and that you're thinking more about, I think I saw this in a report somewhere, that middle school, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Have you tapped into any middle schools yet? I'm sorry if I missed this last
No,
meeting.
you're good. So the idea of feeder schools was brought up in our last meeting where we would go visit middle schools and elementary schools to help better represent everyone's voices, but we have not done anything yet.
In the future, it's going to
Yes, in the
this academic year sometime?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great, thank you.
I'm really pleased to have sophomores on the student council. As we started, it was most common to tap the seniors who, you know, you think they probably have the most experience in school and so on. But this is a wonderful representation of our sophomore classes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add also, when y'all think about where you put those QR codes, I'm curious, just thinking about where most traction is in the schools with students. I just wonder like how many students visit their principal's office. So just thinking about like, I mean, sometimes in the bathroom stalls, like that's the most popular place. But like, yeah, where students mostly frequent.
Yes, that is.
Just a quick reminder, we have an online audience, so if you guys could make sure your microphones are on and answer verbally into the microphone, it would be super helpful. Thank you.
Directors, any additional questions? Director Tomlin.
Yeah, I would like to know how much time you guys put into the SVC, and do you meet every week? And how much time overall during the month do you spend on SVC activities?
As of the moment, we meet every first Tuesday from 5:30 to 7:30. Although I can't speak for everyone, but Paige and I have personally spent time during our personal time or our school day meeting with our principal, talking with other students to help better represent our student body.
And how do you decide who's going to show up to the board meetings and present?
I believe all students have the opportunity to ask Amy if they're interested in presenting.
Mm. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time. And if during the meeting, if you have any questions about the things that we're talking about, I know you've reviewed the agenda's items and everything, please make sure to give us opportunities to ask a question. Just jump right in. All right, cool. Okay. Wow, did we change this? Okay. The Board of Directors leadership value communication from students, families, staff, and community members as it helps to guide the work of Ben Lapine Schools. Public comment is just one of those many avenues available to ensure this connection. Members of the public may always submit thoughts, questions, or concerns to the board via email as well as in writing. Individual board members also make themselves available for phone, video, or in-person conversations. This being said, I want to remind the public, while this is a meeting with the Board of Directors, this takes place in public. It is not a meeting with the public. It is a meeting of the Board of Directors to conduct district business. As such, the board will now respond to public comment, will not respond to public comment made during tonight's meeting. Instead, issues will be recorded and referred to the proper staff person to follow with you. We will now open up the public comment. Our policy is typically allows up to 2 minutes per speaker until the time cap has been reached for that agendized item. A timer is provided. You will see it on the large screens and to our virtual attendees to ensure every speaker receives updates during the presentation on the remaining time. If the speaker goes over time or if the speaker message is not in adherence with the policies, for example, being personally directed, abusive, discriminatory, repetitive, or off topic, and may ask the speaker to cease and terminate the speaker's privileges to address the board. At this time, I would ask for Jennifer Grote. I want to make sure I said that correctly. Is that right? Close. Can you pronounce it for me so I'm correct on that, please?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Grote. I am I'm an Inclusion EA at Ben High School, and I am also the OSCA Classified President. So good evening, Board. During School Board Recognition Month, we're celebrating with a superhero theme. And tonight I have the honor of recognizing you on behalf of the classified staff. When we think of superheroes, we often think of big moments and bold actions. But the real heroes in our schools are often the ones doing the quiet, steady work, showing up, listening, asking thoughtful questions, and making decisions with care. That is what you do, and it matters more than you realize. From the classified perspective, one of the things we appreciate most is your willingness to ask questions about our work. Those questions show curiosity, respect, and genuine desire to understand the roles that keep our schools running every day, feeling seen and valued in the ways that make a difference. We are also grateful for the listening partnership you offer. Taking time to truly hear the classified voices builds trust and strengthens the relationships. It reminds us that we are all on the same team, working towards the same goal, supporting our students and creating schools where everyone belongs. Your openness to understanding the classified perspectives help create a culture of collaboration and mutual respect. Classified staffs are proud of the work we do, and knowing that our experience and insights are welcomed at the table bring a sense of connection and appreciation that goes a long ways. So during this School Board Recognition Month, thank you for being the kind of heroes our district needs. Thoughtful, approachable, and committed to partnerships. On behalf of the classified staff across the district, thank you for the care, time, and heart you bring to this role. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it very, very much. And now we will have Raphael Alfred Seaton.
Hi there. I'm a family physician in town and a parent of 3 kids who have been or been through Ben Lapine. So I'm here representing a lot of parents just to talk about from a mental health standpoint as a practitioner and as a parent of students, the effects of, and what we can just open dialogue about this standards-based grading and some concerns. I'm going to have to skip a bunch of stuff I was going to say. So I have 4 questions to consider to maybe to open dialogue. I know you're not going to answer tonight, but this is great. We can consider what is best for our students. We all want what's best for the students. As a practitioner, I'm seeing more depression and perfectionism in students as they're entering into the standards-based grading in these high-achieving students. So my first question is, the system has a decaying average, which means homework doesn't count. The latest test is 65% of the grade. There's people with test anxiety, and retaking the test over and over just increases anxiety. Do we have any contingencies in place for these students in particular and for protecting mental health during the time of uncertainty? The second question I have is regarding how it translates to GPA and protecting the high-achieving students when they're applying for colleges and scholarships. Because according to the websites from the Ben Lapine School District, to get a 4 or an A, you have to have advanced knowledge or extended learning beyond grade level expectation, which might mathematically suppress GPAs. And we don't want to harm these opportunities. It would be a liability for the school district if we were suppressing them. And then the third thing is, what are the trainings plans for the teachers, when and where, and how we have consistency across the board for grading for these students going into the school years? And the last question is, would, just as far as continued dialogue for the public, for the teachers, and excuse me, for the parents to show up and get trained more as it's going, if we could maybe think about having that in the future. It's flashing red at me, sorry. Just because we have, I know there's a lot more questions, and I think there's some anxiety that could be really alleviated if parents had more information about this going forward. So.
Thank you for those questions. Appreciate it very much. I know you want to get those questions, but I know the person who probably is going to probably take the information will probably want to get those questions from you. They have your email address, so when they probably email you, just send the other questions back to try to get them answered as well. Okay.
Super. Thank you. Last question is, how are they going to use?
If you're willing to give us the document, we can do that too. So whatever you
perfect.
choose.
I can just send you everything else.
Thank you. That'd be awesome.
Last thing, QR codes, how are they going to use those if there's no cell phones in this? I just thought about this, no cell phones.
Yeah. We thought about that too.
Perfect. Okay.
Yes, we thought about too. Yeah. Thank you very much, Raphael. Appreciate it very much. The next person we have is Rowan Roberts. Want to make sure that's correct? Yeah. Hey, Rowan, how you doing?
Hello, my name is Rowan Roberts, and I am a trans student at Bend High. I have been in the Ben Lapine School District since kindergarten, and after a decade of being a student here, I have rarely felt seen or represented by our schools. This is most apparent regarding bathrooms. Being gender nonconforming, I have never felt comfortable in male nor female bathrooms, and more often than not, there is no good gender-neutral alternative. This has caused me to stop using public restrooms and dehydrate myself to minimize the need. I am not alone in this. Over half of trans people report health issues such as UTIs, kidney stones, kidney infections, and dehydration. There is also mental health risks. Transgender students without access to gender-neutral facilities are nearly twice as likely to commit suicide than those with access. In 2024, a non-binary student by the name of Nex Benedict was beaten unconscious in a girls' bathroom in Oklahoma. They were hospitalized and took their own life the next day. Gender nonconforming students cannot use a sex-segregated restroom without fear of what may happen. I have had people bang on a stall door and call me a freak just because I use the bathroom that aligns with my identity. This kind of bigotry is not uncommon. When I learned of Nex's death, I walked through the hallway of my school, acutely aware that I had passed several sex-segregated restrooms, but not one gender-neutral facility I could use. I came to realize that Nex may still be alive had they not been forced into a gendered restroom. For over 8 years, queer students in the Ben Lapine School District have begged for gender-neutral facilities. We now have unlocked bathrooms, but that is not enough. We need a district policy cementing how bathrooms will be built in the future and how we will destigmatize gender nonconforming students in our schools. If you leave with one thing tonight, I want you to consider this question. How many students must suffer before we take action? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rowan. Appreciate it very much. And our final person today is Denise Rowcroft. Is that correct? Hi, Denise.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Denise Rowcroft. I'm Youth Education and School Gardens Program Director with the Environmental Center, and I'm also a parent of a middle schooler here in the district. And I'm here tonight to voice my support for the rehiring of a sustainability coordinator. The Environmental Center has had a long relationship with implementing that sustainability plan in partnership with the district a long time ago as an outside organization. And we were thrilled when the district finally took it seriously enough to say, actually, we're going to invest funds and we're going to do this with an internal hire. And the amount of work that was able to get done from like when it was us outside to being able to have someone inside was definitely a huge difference, tremendous. So we're really disappointed to hear that there wasn't a rehire after the last person left. We're thrilled to hear that we actually heard about it from students. And the idea that students are pushing for this should be kind of a no-brainer. So as the Environmental Center, we support the rehiring of a sustainability coordinator, and if there's any support that's needed in that for carrying out the sustainability plan, we're here to help that as well. Also, to put my parent hat on, my daughter's at Realms and they're moving to Buckingham, and I know that over the course of many years, millions of dollars have gone into outfitting that school to turn it into a really great school from an empty warehouse. I know that if a sustainability coordinator person were a position that had right now, there would be responsible disassembling of all the materials to make sure that everything that was in the Realms campus would be allocated to other schools, just like there would be a plan for it. And I'm worried as a parent that with all the money and infrastructure gone into that building, now that they're going to Buckingham, what's going to happen with that? I know teachers care, but they also are very busy people, and who's going to take that on? So just really encourage that sustainability hire. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. It's good to see you again. Jenna, do we have any additional? Okay. Thank you for your public comment tonight. Appreciate it very, very much. All right. And now we'll move to the consent agenda. Is there any discussion about our documents for the consent agenda, directors? Any conversation about the consent agenda? All right. Hearing no discussion, I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It is moved by Director Tatum and second by Director Tomlin. And any more discussion on the proposed motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstentions? I believe the ayes had it unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay. What am I doing? Adoption. Right along. Dr. Cook, we now turn to Dr. Cook for this consent from information.
Thank you, Chair LeGrand. In your consent for information item tonight, we have actually quite a bit, 3 separate items. The first one are policies that will be adopted. We have 21 policies in this group of policies this time. The first 10 that you notice in your list are batches of policies that relate directly to the HR practices in our HR department. We are deleting 6 of the policies from the language of that we have found to be repetitive, and we are incorporating that repetitive language and capturing it in a new policy, GCAA-AP, the Standards for Competent and Ethical Performance of Employees. This is in alignment with state guidelines and recommended policy language. We also are adding 3 additional policies that were reviewed and updated to align with current district practices and the OSBA sample policy. The other batch of policies that are included in this group are instructional materials policies that we presented at the December board meeting and went out for public feedback through December 23rd. We did not receive any feedback on these policies. Those are being adopted as originally presented. And then the last item you'll see are a couple of items that are follow-ups from last month's consent for information. Oh, excuse me, no, this is the annual report on executive limitation 4.3, which, as you know, today's board meeting is specifically around financial planning and administration, and those documents that are follow-up to last month's public comments. I'm glad to answer any questions or request info from any of our team if needed.
Directors and student representative, any questions on any of the information in terms of the consent for information? Okay. Seeing that there's no questions or any comments, we're going to go actually to our reports. Dr. Cook, we're now here from Dan Emerson, Chief Financial Officer for the second quarter financial report, as well as the annual comprehensive financial report for 24-25.
Thank you, directors. I'm going to prop up the mic because I'm a taller person and this mic isn't made for me, so. Okay, so first off, for the record, Dan Emerson, Chief Financial Officer. We're going to go through the second quarter financial update as of this point in time. So this is the second quarter financial update for fiscal year 25-26. The financial information presented is based on actuals through December 31st of 2025 and is projections going through the end of this fiscal year, which ends June 30th of 26. Estimates of the overall district general fund revenue have declined by $1.8 million since the first quarter financial report. The newest ODE, or Oregon Department of Education State School Fund estimates reflect a total funding of $100.6 million for Ben Lapine schools, which is a decrease of $650,000 in state school fund revenues from budget. This variance is due to fluctuations in our proportion of the total Oregon average daily membership weighted, or ADMW. Additionally, we forecast actual interest earnings to be $420,000 less than budgeted due to continual Federal Reserve interest rates cuts. So at this point in time, that's kind of my paragraph on revenues. I'm going to stop and ask if there's any questions related to state school fund, local revenues, interest earnings by the board or the Student Voice Council.
I'm sorry, Dan, do you mind slowing down a little bit, please?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Thanks, Director Chadwick.
Is it possible in future reports to express that decline in AUM in terms of students rather than percentages or dollars? Does that help? Could we do that instead? Or in addition?
Sure. So I think, so it's not necessarily that our ADMW has gone down since this year started, because we have the extended ADMW. It's that the state is now forecasting that other school districts' ADMW have increased, and so our proportion is smaller. And it is difficult to get those numbers in real time, but we can try to do that for you, certainly.
And if I may, just as a reminder, the ADMW estimates that we build our budget on they are estimates. And we reconcile in real time as the year goes. And so you will see variance from quarter to quarter as every 197 districts are all doing the same thing. And the one thing that is a little unique to the state of Oregon's funding model is they allocate a certain amount of dollars overall. And then those variances among those districts are where you get those local kinds of overtime changes that could impact the overall ADMW. And remember, there's a difference between ADMW and actual enrollment, because those weights include any reasons we would receive additional funds based upon the overall total.
Mm-hmm. But we can certainly try to pull out our numbers and then as a percentage of the Oregon ADMW as best as possible. Thank you. Any other questions related to revenues? Okay. In the second quarter, major expenditures trends become more discernible, and they have, and we have accordingly made estimates to our payroll and other operating costs. Significantly, we forecast total personnel expenditures to be $191 million, which is $4 million below the appropriated adjusted budget. This savings, we believe, is due to ongoing open positions, vacancies that are currently unfilled despite our best recruitment efforts, And while we strive as an organization to have low vacancy rates, this savings, should it come to fruition, is valuable in offsetting the projected long-term forecast trends, which show expenditures quickly outpacing revenues. And of course, we'll go over kind of that long-term forecast and that trend that we're showing of those expenditures outpacing revenues in out years during that February meeting, pre-budget meeting. We'll go into that in more depth.
And if I might add an editorial statement to that, while our CFO may be glad about that, I would not say that that is good news. When we talk about vacancy savings, we're talking about positions in which we do not have somebody that is a budgeted position for absences, and that we would have built that position with the expectation that they're present, serving the district and trying to reach the goals of the district. And so it does save money, but it does create significant burden on other positions in the district.
Yeah. Are there any questions about expenditures, about the expenditure report? Okay. So with the known impacts to the budget, we project the fiscal year 25-26 ending fund balance to be $21.4 million. This is a reduction of approximately $6.9 million from the current fiscal year 25-26 actual fund balance. So that indicates that revenues, as we said, are no longer covering the cost of core services, and this is necessitating the utilization of reserves and eating those reserves to balance the budget. We expect this estimate will change as the year progresses, becoming more accurate as early year expenditure variability subsides. But as of right now, we're going from approximately 28 million beginning fund balance to 21.4 million ending fund balance, which means that our revenues are not exceeding expenditures. At least that's the projection. Any questions regarding ending fund balance or kind of how this year is looking currently?
Dan, just a quick question. So the total reserve, though, is still well over 5%, right?
That is correct.
8%, so
Mm-hmm.
so we're still doing well there.
We are still doing well there for this fiscal year. Thank you, Director Tomlin.
And if I may, in alignment with that question, it is this board's policy that we will not present a budget to you all that would take the fund balance below that projected 5%. And so tracking that overall percentage as it relates to the overall budget is always an important factor for us as we go through the year.
Okay, if there's no other questions about kind of the forecast, I'll move into investments. Also included in your financial statement package, you will find a report on investment of proceeds. Our policy does allow for investment of cash balances to achieve greater earnings on cash. Large tax revenue payments came in November. That's when we get approximately 96-97% of our tax revenue. And our cash balance in the local government investment pool, or LGIP, went over the pool limit. And so we have to move that money out into other investments and maturities, and this is completely normal. It occurs every year due to the influx of tax receipts. To rectify the cash balance being over the LGIP limit, we moved $59.5 million in operational cash to short-term Treasury bill investments, which will mature between January and April of 2026 and will be used to meet our operational needs in those months, aka payroll. We also have longer-term investments of the 2025 bond issuance, which is for the capital bond projects centering around Bend High and the other projects. Those maturities of those investments are scheduled to align with our spending needs, and the total market value of our capital portfolio currently is $146 million. Questions related to investments or anything else?
So my question, I'm sorry, and that was loud. Okay. My question is, like, I know we're tapping into the reserve to a certain extent. How long before it becomes maybe a detriment or something we could be concerned about, or is the 5% helping us stay afloat and to be good?
Sorry, Chair LeGrand, your question was how long do you think we have with that 5%? I think I would feel more comfortable answering that question probably during that February budget meeting. We just finished the long-term forecast with more variables for the next 5 years, and I think we're going to continue to work on that forecast. I will say that number will completely depend on some of the financial decisions we make in the budget and in the years going forward, if we need to make cuts or what the biennial budget will be. I will say that we are trending down fairly precipitously if you don't make any adjustments, and we'll cover that more in that February budget. But if this year is perhaps a $7 million loss in reserve fund balance, then next year would be potentially significantly higher, and the following year significantly higher. So it does happen fairly rapidly, but without us actually having the forecast out there, I'd be hesitant to go into large detail.
And I would add that we chose this budget back in the spring. We knew we were going to be marketing into some of this reserve to be able to take advantage of that reserve being above 5%, to be able to make the budget work. And that helped us reduce the amount of cuts that we were going to have to consider. And when Dan talks about other considerations or assumptions, things like the cost of personnel, cost of insurance premiums that are increasing, PERS retirement costs increasing. There are a lot of factors, including what our next, we already know for this year, what we're going to be receiving. The next biennia will also be a large factor on how those funds will be impacting what the budgets will be proposed. And so when we talk about that, the goal is always to get 1 year's worth of tax receipts to build 1 year's worth of service at that year's costs. And that's the conversation that Dan and I have regularly, and our team does as well.
And just to kind of make an even bigger picture there, I would say across, school districts are so heavily reliant on the state school fund, right? And so across the state, you're seeing large school districts making large cuts. I think Portland's come out and said 50 million. Dr. Cook, correct me on my numbers if I'm wrong, but Eugene has said 30 million, Salem said 20, and I think Reynolds was 25. And we are not in that situation. I think we've kind of leveled, as Dr. Cook kind of spoke to, we've made continuous cuts so that we're not in that situation. But we aren't, by any stretch of the imagination, out of the woods. We are also losing beginning working capital every year and cutting into that. So we're somewhere in between. And we'll do more in February to give you guys a better picture of exactly where we are.
Directors, do you have any additional questions for Mr. Emerson? Mr. Tomlin, do you have any questions? All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate you very much. I know he'll stay, yeah, he's staying, I know, right? All right, cool. So I know, Dan, you're gonna be getting ready to do the annual comprehensive financial report for 2020-25.
Yes, and Director Tomlin had a couple questions that came to me right before this meeting, and one of them was if there would be, if anyone would be interested in perhaps having a meeting with me to talk about, what's inside of these categories or how we go through and kind of come up quarterly with the financial reports. And I would be happy to have that meeting with folks if there's an expression by the board that they'd like to do that. Happy to walk people through that kind of maybe during one of the board sessions. So I just wanted to put that on the record as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the annual comprehensive report. The annual audit of the Ben Lapine Schools financial statements for the year ending June 30th, 2025 has been completed. Our auditors, Sensiba, have issued an unmodified clean opinion on our financial statements and on our annual comprehensive financial reports. This is the best opinion available. Included in the annual comprehensive financial report, you will find the independent auditor's report on page 1, the independent auditor's report required by state regulations on page 147, the independent auditor's report on internal control over finance reporting on page 150, and the independent auditor's report on compliance for each major federal program on page 152, and the schedule of findings and question cost on page 157. And I highly recommend that you go through those if you have time, because there are some good things in there. During the audit, however, a significant deficiency was identified related to the district's payroll tax payment procedures, so that's a finding. The district overpaid approximately $1.9 million in payroll taxes in April of 2025. And again, $5 million overpayment in payroll taxes in June of 2025. The payroll processing errors were definitely due to rapid turnover within the department and subsequent insufficient training for staff and inadequate review procedures. So to give a little bit more detail on that, we had payroll staff at about 50% capacity for some of the year. We had a lot of veterans leave, and we weren't able to fill those positions, and the ones that we were able to fill They kind of had to take on some pretty complicated tasks at a tough time. And on top of that, I think not having a full ERP system is very difficult because these tasks aren't automated. So we're down to half staff, they're new, and we're trying to give them the training, but really they need to be processing payroll and getting payroll out because that's the first commitment. And I think that led to an environment where there were a lot of errors. And as part of this, I'll be talking, or some errors, I'll be talking about kind of the corrective action plan and what I'm doing as, you know, the CFO to recognize that pattern and how we move past that and do better, because it's still a situation that is somewhat fluid. But I do believe that is why we had those errors. They were seen. It's a significant deficiency because we did not also do the payroll liability reconciliations that we should have done on the back end, which is kind of the accounting portion of this. The district has recovered the $5 million in June overpayment, and we fully anticipate to recover the April $1.9 million overpayment. They're waiting on some of the year-end documentation, tax documentation that we're sending them, but we fully expect that. Payroll staff did identify the overpayments quickly, but really the deficiency that's coming out of this is the related accounting entries that actually our payroll manager and our payroll staff would do were not corrected promptly, resulting in audit findings specifically around payroll liability reconciliations. So it's kind of a two-part finding, not to get too much into it, but one part is the physical overpayments, and the other part is that we didn't successfully kind of debit our liabilities on our payroll journal entry there on the reconciliation. So while an audit finding is disappointing, certainly, this is ultimately the reason we do have an external audit process. It's to ensure strong internal controls and transparency with public funds. It should be noted that our accounting staff did identify the error ourselves during the audit and self-disclosed to the auditors. As a result of this finding, we have created a much more robust internal control process and have engaged staff in comprehensive internal and external training related to payroll tax process and reconciliation. And it's not in this agenda item, but I'd like to kind of talk about some of the things that we've gone through to help mitigate this in the future. So the first thing that I had to be aware of is that we still are at 50% staffing. So we have out there a job queue, and we have a lot of good applicants, and we'll start hiring for payroll specialists too next week, which we're excited about. And the second thing was that the folks that were doing specifically the payroll taxes needed to be trained more. So we were lucky to enlist the services of Nick Shane, who is our former payroll manager and is now our budget director. He was able to come in over this last month, and will continue this month to work with those individuals on taxes to help mitigate any overpayments in the future. I'm also proud to say that we have not had any overpayments in this fiscal year, July to January. So we're much stronger in that technical area. I also had to look at how do you process 2,100 folks' payroll in a system that isn't fully functioning, so that people are manually having to calculate payroll and provide them training at the same time. And that's a difficult problem to solve. We were able to work out a custom contract with Business Plus, our vendor, because there's also the added complexity of you have to be able to payroll process, not in a third-party system, but in our own system, Business Plus. We were able to work out a custom contract with them where they effectively gave us 2 staff of theirs, Business Plus, who are training consultants who have 20+ years of payroll experience in Business Plus, who are going to work with us for a year, both processing payroll and then training once we're fully staffed, so that they will process and then they will hand off and train to our staff so that we actually have time to do both. So we've kind of bought 2 veterans to come on and then help offload tasks. Plus we have Nick Shane working with them. We also have a retire rehire who's an expert in reconciliation, taxes, HS, and PERS, who is working with our new payroll manager. So we have a new payroll manager as well, and this will be a vital part of her role. And that person will be doing training with her over the next 2 months and actually continuing throughout this year. So in many ways, I think we have this very well dialed in. We have the most resources we've ever given to this team. But I wanted you guys as the governing board to know that we're on it, we've been on it, and we're executing on that plan. So moving forward, legally, audit findings require a corrective action plan, which is a document prepared by staff detailing a plan for addressing the findings and bolstering internal controls. The corrective action plan is attached to this agenda item, and Resolution 2006 adopts the corrective action plan as presented to the board. Signature of the board chair and one other member of the board is also required for adoption for the correction plan. As part of today's meeting, we are also asking the board to accept the presented annual comprehensive financial report. So at this point in time, there was a lot there. I'll open up to any kind of question.
Directors, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Dan. The corrective action report was really helpful for me. Naturally, there's some concern, but I trust you're on it, and I appreciate that. I'm curious, how speedy was the turnaround with the recovery of the $5 million?
It was very quick as far as I understand. We identified the overpayment. This was a situation in which we identified the overpayment very quickly, and I think as soon as we were able to reach out to IRS and state authorities, they initiated the refund.
So then after February's meeting, you anticipate the turnaround for the next will be quite
Yes, after we complete, I believe, the Form 81 for year-end taxes, I anticipate that we will get the 1.9 as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
Dan, I did have one question or comment. We've been working for a couple years trying to get our systems between finance and HR to talk to each other. Where are we on that? And I know it involves IT, and it involves both your department and HR.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll try to. Oh.
Before you answer that, are we still sticking with UKG?
No, I mean, I think that I can say on the record that we are not planning on sticking. Maybe Dr. Cook's like, no, but that is not currently the direction that we anticipate that we are moving forward.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
I'm looking at my boss like,
Well, I will say, like, you did give us some of this in the EL report. Can you, that sort of refers to a conclusion of the important work likely in April and May. What resources do you need in order to have a ERP system that would improve these processes in place, say, 12 months from now, just to throw something out there?
Yeah, so first off, I'm going to go back to, I think, I'm going to kind of answer all three questions. I'm going to go back to Director Chadwick's. I think the reason I felt like it was okay to say that we're probably not moving forward with UKG is that we have extensively found out that UKG cannot speak with our finance system. And if they cannot speak with each other, and we've gone out for consultants to see if they can build an API and they can't do it, I don't think there's anyone at the team right now that would say we can viably stick with UKG, right? So that's the first reason why I think I felt comfortable saying that. Where we are right now is I think, and Director Lynch pointed to it, is that in April and May, our main consultants, Plant Moran, will come back with kind of a two-phase approach. They will come back with what a future state should look like and what we should maybe RFP out for an ERP system. And they will come back with some recommendations with our staffing, with the roles that we have about internally, who's responsible for what and what makes sense there, so that not only can we move to a future state process-wise that makes sense, but with people in the roles that make sense as well. So it's kind of a double win there. And so we do expect to have that by April, May. I think once we get there, we're probably going to have to work with a consulting team, probably a project manager from Plant Moran, to help have that outside authority to push us forward. You do have a highly invested team, and this is IT, this is HR, there's a core team of 10 of us, but right now they're interviewing 40 plus people. So I think you have agency buy-in, and we have 2 or 3 dedicated IT engineers, but it's going to take probably some consulting, probably some dollars related to whatever ERP team we get as well, so that their engineers can potentially help build as well, especially if you're talking about a transition of 12 months, because ultimately the ERP system will probably be a rebuilding of some aspects of the accounting structure. There will be position control, there will be AP, workflows related to purchase cards, and then there will also be everything related to HR, which is onboarding, recruiting, position control numbers, investigations, files. And so this will probably be, this will probably be one of the largest software implementations that we ever do. And so it will be an all hands on deck, both internally and externally. And I think Dr. Cook has been super supportive of.
Yeah,
of
I
us
just,
moving
I mean, this has been a priority for some time. I would tell you that we've also added the complication of the state deciding to invest energy in changing the accounting structure that the state now wants us to report to. And that's, I don't know what we were, 12 to 16 months into this process when we learned that. And so it's not going to be a problem. We'll make it work. But this is I will tell you, this is and continues to need to be a priority for this team and for this board so that we can do a better job with all of the things that you're asking us to do and we know that we should be doing.
I think in May or after we go out for the ERP, we should get probably a timeline of implementation for Plant Moran, and we'll know more then about the realism of that timeline and what extra additional resources we would need to implement that across the district. And then, of course, once you even implement it, we're in the education business, right? There's an education perspective out to our 2,100 employees too that's going to take some time as well. So, yeah.
Directors, any more questions for Mr. Emerson? Ross, or Mr. Tomlin, excuse me.
Well, not a question, but I on a good side, looking through the financial report, I always like to look at the net position of the organization, and I noticed, as it tends to indicate some financial strength and health, that the net position increased by what, 20 million this year. So that's good news.
I think I'm not sure if that would be the net position in the general fund, but across the board, especially when you look at capital dollars, we have a strong position. And I do think the fact that we had overall, we had this deficiency, and it's not the highest level finding, but it was a finding. But overall, we had an unmodified a clean opinion, which is the highest that you can get. So I'm proud of our staff. I'm really proud of the way that we've reacted to this deficiency and the way that we're kind of actively trying to get on top of that. So thank you, Director Tomlin.
Thank you, Mr. Emerson. Appreciate it very, very much. Directors, it's now time for us to take a little bit of action. I would now want to now entertain a motion to accept the resolution of 2006.
I move to accept Resolution 2006, adopting the corrective action plan as presented and taking the measures as provided herein.
It is
I
motion-
second.
Is that Cameron? Sorry, thank you. It was entertained. The motion was by Director Olson and second by Director, Cameron Fisher. Oh my God, the last names. Thank you. And now any discussion? All right, did no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you. We have one more thing to do as well. I will now entertain a motion to accept the annual comprehensive financial report.
I move to accept the annual comprehensive financial report as presented.
I'll second.
All right, it was entertained by Director Tomlin and seconded by Director Tatum. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I would now call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? No. Thank you very much. Aye has unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Emerson.
Yeah, thank you, directors. Look forward to seeing you in February for budget and long-term forecast.
No problem. Thank you again.
Thanks, Dan.
We're now hear from Dr. Cook regarding the Board International School Charter Renewal Request.
Thank you, Chair LeGrand. You all may know this. Bend International School's charter request was very first approved by the board in July of 2015. The initial contract was renewed in July 2021. The current charter contract with the district will expire on June 30th, 2026. The district received a request for the school to renew the charter, and in accordance with Oregon law, a public hearing was held at our last board meeting regarding the renewal request. The next step would be, if the board chooses to renew Bend International School's charter request, we will start negotiations and a final contract will be presented to the board for final approval. Those negotiations, I think by statute, are expected to be done within 90 days. Does that sound correct? We would have 90 days post this date if it's approved upon this date. Glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Directors, any questions to Dr. Cook about the renewal for Bend International School? Students? All right. Director Tomlin? All right. Hearing no questions, we'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve Bend International School's charter contract renewal request and that the district begin contract negotiations with Bend International School.
I second the motion.
All right, we've heard a first by Director Chadwick and a second by Director Olson. Any discussion? All right, hearing no discussion, I will now entertain a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Oh my God. All opposed? Any abstentions? I believe I have it. This is what happens when you wake up at 4 in the morning and you did not go back to sleep and you're tired. So sorry about that. It's been a long day. All right. Thank you, Dr. Cook. Now we'll hear Dr. Cook again for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chair LeGrand. Pretty quick superintendent's report tonight. Just 3 items on my list that I'd like to share with you all and just draw attention to. The first one is we are just a short step away from the short session starting. Want to remind us about our definite advocacy this work, the fact that we're deeply engaged with our local legislators and the state legislators across the board. Just a reminder that I think it's important to remind you that our conversations we had with our local legislators that happened right before winter break, that there was concerns about the overall state budget. As you know, almost $1 billion was cut from a portion of the state's budget because of the relationship with the federal dollars and the way that Oregon calculates our taxes. That is due to that coupling to the federal tax code. And so the legislators are challenged with figuring out ways to close that hole. It is not necessarily correlated to the K-12 budget, but there is some shortfalls there. We're also watching for the economic forecast in early February to keep track of that. We have advocated that rather than make cuts to the education funds or K-12 public education funds, that the legislature considers tapping into the Education Stability Fund. As you know, it has over $1.2 billion in it right now. And it has revenue sources, so it isn't a fund balance that is, if you will, a savings account. It does have revenue sources. Lottery dollars go in there. Also, excess CAT tax dollars go in there. And so there is a way for those dollars to be replenished if they would so choose to tap into that. That's advocacy that we've placed with them. We will report out on that regularly as that progress goes. That's the first item I wanted to talk about. Second one is, as we've heard tonight from our friends, the cell phone policy is now official. The governor's executive order across the state of Oregon is now official for every school district. As you know, many districts chose to implement early in the year. We chose to delay. That comes with challenges, as you can imagine. We are very excited to have ongoing conversations with our students about what that might look like. And we are hopeful that not just because it was an executive order from our governor, but that we can have strong impact in our classrooms, in our academic learning, in our rigor in our classrooms because of this implementation. Looking forward to that dialogue with our students and our administrators and teachers and our staff in our schools. And last but not least, I just want to draw your attention to an opportunity. Oh, yes.
In regards to the question asked earlier about how the posters can be scanned with the cell phone policy or the cell phone ban in place, we were intending, so students have their school iPads on them at almost all times, so students will be able to access via that. And also outside of school hours, students have their cell phones and those posters will still be available. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for throwing that in there. Appreciate that. And great use of the cube. I mean, that was awesome. My last item is I just want to draw attention to, we have several public meetings in the near future. As early as tomorrow night, we have a Choice High School experience night for anybody that might be interested in the new Choice High School. That will be the result of the merging of Ben Tech Academy and Realms High School. That's tomorrow night at 6 p.m. The following night, we have Discover Realms Middle School at Buckingham Elementary School. And then next week, we have some more of those. The second night for Discovering Our New Choice High School, next Wednesday, the 20th. and similarly for Buckingham Elementary School for Discover Realms Middle School next Thursday. And I would just, lots of opportunity to get engaged in our community right now. We're in a period of transition with this kind of flat declining enrollment, with this kind of challenged financial state that the state is in. And so this is to some extent, our new reality, is to figure out how we continue to have thriving schools and great interactions and great learning experiences with our students in a tighter, more perhaps austere fiscal outlook over the next several years. And so I would invite you all, if you're willing and able, to come to those meetings and participate with us. Thank you. Glad to answer any more questions.
My question is pertaining to, is there any real talk about changing the school funding model to be able to represent, to be able to make sure that the schools across our state are getting all the support they need?
Boy, that's a loaded question. Yes, there is lots of conversations about the model. There's lots of conversation about how we fund schools, about areas of not just changing the formula. As you know, it's a formulaically driven funding model, but also what areas aren't being potentially adequately served. You've heard me say it, you've heard many of our teams say it. We feel like there's a definite need for additional special education funding across the state. And those funds would be allocated in seconds if we were able to receive them. The challenge, that is true, and legislators will tell you this, and they tell us this often, is that anything that you change to the formula will produce winners, people who get more dollars, and losers, people who get less dollars when you talk about the formula. And so the idea of changing and adapting the formula without having additional resources to offset those losing situations is really the predicament that the legislators are trying to solve. And when you talk about those other factors like Health and Human Services losing $1 billion out of the state budget, those are all competing for this. You know, it isn't $1 for education and $1 for Health and Human Services. It's $1 for the state's needs. And so that's how these conversations go oftentimes. So that's one of the reasons why we talk about the Education Stability Fund. Is it's been accessed 9 times since its inception in about 20 years. And we believe, as do many, that this is a perfect time for that access again.
Is there any conversation related to looking at some of the different districts that do have levies and have had levies for the past 20 years, being able to discuss what's best practices for them to be able to obtain those, to be able to support the different districts across the state that may need some of that support as well? And how does that look?
I think what I'm hearing from you is the question of some districts have levies, some districts don't, which could potentially be creating an equity concern. And I would tell you that I believe that the position the state, I don't want to speak for the state, but I would believe that what we hear kind of as a standard mantra is that if communities want to increase taxes upon themselves to provide better experiences for their students, that is incumbent on the communities to make those decisions. And so when districts choose to do that and the community says yes, it does create an environment where they have more resources to meet the needs of what the communities are asking for. And so does it create a dynamic in which maybe class sizes are smaller or programs are available in certain districts that are not others? Absolutely, that is true. It does take challenging conversations to have that. I do not expect that there would be action by our legislators to counteract local levies and local options. I think they believe in the ability for local school districts to make choices for their communities.
Sorry, directors, I'm sorry I monopolized the conversation, my bad. The other directors, do you have any additional questions for Superintendent Cook? All right, so I guess we're going to move on to director comments. And as usual, we'll start online with Director Tomlin.
Thank you, Chair LeGrand. Well, I just wanted to say again, congratulations to the teachers who earned their national board certification. That's amazing, and I guess I wasn't aware that Ben Lapine has the highest number of nationally board certified teachers in the state. So that's something to be very proud of, and it certainly benefits our students quite a bit. So that's great. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Director Tomlin. Director Olson?
Yeah, I just want to call out to the communications team. During the last 2 months, we've had lots of communication, and the spotlights have been going out, and they're getting longer and longer. which is good news, because there's so much going on in Ready to Report. And I'm anxious for this last half of the year to get back into schools and see what our kids are really doing and appreciate the communication effort.
Thanks, Director Olson. Director Lynch.
I would like to congratulate the financial department on a clean audit again this year. I know that that takes a lot of work, and you're working in conditions that are less than ideal. So holding it together is noticed and appreciated by us and by the community. And then just briefly, as we head into middle school and high school course forecasting season, I'd like to say that Chair LeGrand and I got to participate in our kids' Oregon Music Educator Association Central Oregon Honor Band on Friday night last week, and it was awesome. And my child is still grieving, not getting to spend all day, every day doing band like she did last week. Please consider keeping your students engaged in our performing arts and foreign languages as they move into high school. And if you are finding as families or as communities that that's a challenge, we want to hear about why and how we can continue to make those resources available for your students, because they are unbelievably valuable.
Thank you, Director Lynch. Thank you very, very much. Director Chadwick?
Yeah, today I have the opportunity of attending, it was more than a groundbreaking, but the Verde Pines, which this board had approved a couple months ago down in La Pine, to give the green light to a project that will be across from Caldera High, and folks who will be living there, we're expected to be around the 60% AMI, and it's just a great opportunity to come together with Latino Community Association, with the City of Bend, and just a reminder to folks that as long as this board is intact, no students or families will be sacrificed for funding, and that we welcome this new chapter. So in about another year, 12, 15 months, people are going to actually be living in there, which is exciting to see.
Thank you, Director Chadwick. Director Fisher?
Yes, I want to give a shout out for the district doing responses to public comment each month. I really appreciate that. I can't remember when that started, maybe a year or two ago. That it's kind of a formal thing regularly. And one thing that whoops, that goes my phone, that I wanted to mention with regard to that is some of those comments really get me thinking about what we as a board stand for, what I think is very important. And so a couple of things came up for me recently. And I know we're going to hiring season this spring or in a couple months or probably sooner. And I'm thinking about how, and Jen, you mentioned world languages, how important that is. And I think of La Pine, who does not have a world language teacher, and that students in La Pine are expected to take their language online. And I think about some other schools that have 3, 4, 5 language offerings at their high schools, and in person. And I think we are doing a grave disservice. And I know people are doing what they can, but I think our district needs to do better when it comes to serving students, when it comes to opportunities like world language, that every student should be able to take in person in school. And then I also wanted to mention, I'm so grateful for the Student Voice Council and your input and the community's input on the sustainability coordinator and how we are, again, doing a disservice to our students and schools by not moving faster. And I know it's a process, and I appreciate that, but there's an urgency that needs to happen with our sustainability coordinator replacement, because every time there's a shift, we lose momentum. And I think that's really disconcerting. So I'm whatever I can do to help support that, and I love that we have somebody from the Environmental Center willing to step up too and help. And then also with regard to standards-based grading, I'm listening, I imagine most of us are listening to the community's response, our students' response, teachers' responses, and more needs to be done about transparency and information and communication, because I really believe in standards-based grading, and I think there's so much to it that's valuable. But if our students and our teachers and our families don't know about that and how it works, we're going to continue to hear things that are frustrating. And we want it to be everybody wants to be a really good experience. And I urge the district to do more, just like they're doing with transparency and information sessions with the merging of Ben Tech and Realms High School. That's wonderful. That makes people feel that they're informed and that they're part of the process. And so I'm hoping for that more with standards-based grading, because again, I do really believe in it. And last but not least, thinking about just with what's happening in various realms of our safety, keeping our kids safe, keeping our families safe, I want to encourage the district, and if I can help with this in some way, of making more accessible resources for safe gun storage beyond just at our law enforcement agencies, those buildings, or having to come to the Ed Center for resources like safe gun storage. I want that to be more on our radar as a school district and a board. And so again, anything I can do to help support that, to make that more available for our students and families would be, I think it's really important going forward. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Fisher. Appreciate it.
All right. So I just want to put a plug in to anybody who's watching online and anyone who's here to share with their family and friends. We currently have, I believe, 3 vacancies on our budget committee. One vacancy on our budget committee. You know, that is how I first kind of became active with the board, was as a member of the budget committee, and the same goes for Director LeGrand and Director Olson. So if you are listening and you have interest in learning more about our schools and getting more involved, the budget committee is a great way to do that. You can go to the board page of the district website, and it has the information on how to apply, and applications are due January 30th.
Thank you, Director Tatum. Appreciate it very much. As we conclude tonight, my closing comments is, well, I think Black history is every day, not just next month. So I always, being a Black American in this country, I'm always a living history, and that's the way I like to look at things. One thing I want to challenge everybody with Black History Month next month is, for me, is this. Take the time to really get to learn some things, knowledge about what Black Americans have contributed to this country. And here's another thing I want everybody to consider. And here's a challenge to all of us. I want to see if anyone can go a whole week without using anything that a Black person has created. I want to see if you can do it. It's going to be tough. So I'm going to give you some starters to get you to understand what totality of how hard this would be. First, you got to put away your cell phone. Next, you got to put away your PC. So that's 2 things that's gone right there, okay? Because they were created by Black people. Next thing you gotta look at is the refrigerator, elevator, the stove. Do I need to keep going? So think about it from that perspective. I wanna see who can actually do it, because in the process, you're gonna learn a lot about Black history and learn exactly what we have contributed. Because right now, looking at the way the state of the world is, sometimes I think we forget about what the contributions of many Americans have given us. So for next month, for Black History Month, I want to challenge you to be more about what the intentionality of the stuff that you learn. Next, I want to challenge all the different schools in terms of being able to do door decoration competition that we're trying to do for the district as well, because it gives an opportunity for teachers to engage with students, as well as give them the ability to learn a little bit about something more than what they're learning every single day. So I challenge everyone to do that, because I know I live it every single day, but I would love for people to know some of the many things that have happened and many things that have been created. From the refrigerated truck, from blood plasma, to so many different things. For Zoom, if we didn't have Zoom, it wouldn't be for a Black woman. GPS, can we go there as well? Dr. Gladys West is awesome for that. Even looking at animation for many of the Disney films that you know and love. So if you can go a whole week without using many of those things, I want to see where your life would be. So that's a true educational process of understanding what I had to learn as a kid, and I would love for us to continue to do the same thing in our district. Thank you very much. And our next meeting will be January 27th for a work session, and our next general meeting will be February 10th. Thank you, and have a great rest of your night. This meeting is adjourned.